Hello?
Hello.
Brian, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. Better now that I'm talking to you, man.
I know.
All right, let's get into it. You're on your Thunderbreaker and you would like some advice.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any specific things that you think are very need a lot of work?
So if you start looking at my gear, I don't have any Sweetwater. I don't do any voyages. I just skip all that. Like I don't transpose.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably where I'm probably confused the most about. Like I just don't see the value, so I don't do it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, transposing is there's really only two items where there is value for transposing. So it's the Papulatus mark into the Sweetwater monocle. I mean that really only comes into play if you even get a Papulatus mark because, that's the drop rate on those is horrendous. And you basically have to be doing Papulatus every single week diligently and then in the hope that you get one like within somewhere between like 3 months and a year and a half. So if you're not like, if you're not about that life waiting on that, then basically that's just like completely out the window for you, and you only just get the Sweetwater monocle, and then you just Star Force that basically. And the reason you would go for the Sweetwater monocle and for the tattoo is because once you get, because of how much Star Force they can get, and once you get past 15, you get a lot of weapon and magic attack on them. They have a higher tier of potential because they're 160. So in that sense, they end up becoming strong enough to overpower the set bonus and the flame advantage that the boss accessory pieces have, and those will get reverted into just drop rate gear then, or meso-obtain gear, and then the Sweetwater accessories will become your damage gear basically.
Gotcha.
And the other thing to transpose is the Dominator pendant into a Sweetwater pendant. That's mainly just to round out your set bonuses. Because I think you have... Do you have full superior set bonus? Yeah, you do, right? Because your set is... your character's pretty old, right?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
But back when you can actually kill Helix and stuff. So you have a belt. So you have 5 set superior right now?
4 set.
4 set. Oh, what kind of belt are you using?
I'm using reinforced.
Oh, reinforced. Yeah, so what people would end up doing is using the superior belt, and then it frees up one slot where you don't need a Gollux item in it, because the base stats of Gollux items, excluding from the belt, is really good, but the other ones, the base stats aren't insanely good. And they cannot get boss flames, so the main purpose is high Star Force, but that's not exclusive to Gollux items. There are other items that also get high Star Force. So that's when people started to min-max and see like, well, which item could we replace? So the main thing that people would replace back in the day was the earring as the 5th item in the set, so that you can still have the 4 set bonus, but you can min-max on whatever was one of the items. So people would transpose that because, the earrings were hard to get to high Star Force anyway. You can only have access to one superior earring. And instead, if you then rely on the dineros to make Sweetwater earrings, in a transposed form, you could get more damage out of that slot than with the superior earring. Now that has shifted because the pendants don't drop from Helix anymore, but the earrings do. So now instead, it makes more sense to go for one high Star Force superior pendant. And, as difficult as that already is, right? Because you have to buy backups from the store and everything, which are expensive as hell. And then instead you find a Dominator pendant, get good flames, get at least a 16-star, transpose into the Sweetwater pendant, and then that way you have the 4 set bonus from ring, pendant, belt, and earring, because the superior earring can now drop, and that makes it more reliable to get that one to the high stars. But this is really when you're like min-maxing and go over 20 stars on everything, and when you're trying to get the best out of all of your individual slots on your holistically your whole setup, basically.
I gotcha.
So it's probably a good reason why you're not really too preoccupied with that, because I see most of your stuff is like is legendary, but is like 1.5 to 2 lines of stat, and your Star Force is generally like around 12 to 15. like 12 on most things, but your weapon is 17. So it makes sense that this is still something that you're not really worrying about. These are stuff that just require a lot of pre-work. Like if you're doing normal arc every day to try to get a Dominator Pendant, if you're doing Chaos Papulatus every week to try to get a Papulatus mark, then you're doing and you're doing your voyages every now and then just to build up some dineros, then you're doing as much as you could be to prepare for this. But at this point, there's not really much more that you could be doing. So in general, you don't have like any dineros, or
Very, very few. Like my vessel's level 5, but I just don't do it.
Okay. Yeah, so it all depends on what your goal with your character is. So what are you trying to achieve with your Thunderbreaker, I guess?
Like I want to be able to solo Lomian, and like I feel like I could right now, but like my mechanics are just terrible. Like I die out pretty easy.
You're 240 now, right?
235.
Oh, 235, okay. So you have access to all the symbols, so your stat is coming around quite nicely with all of the arcane power. You got crit rate, buff stage.
So that last one that's kind of faded is when I'm bursting, and that middle one is just when my buffs are active.
Yeah, because you have that temporary extra damage.
Yeah, it's crazy. It goes up like almost 4 mil when I'm bursting.
Yeah, it's the percentage damage. Well, you think that's crazy? You should play a hero. It goes up like 14 mil or something out of nowhere, and then one skill runs out and it's just all gone again. Yeah, it's really hit or miss with that guy. Yeah, it's crazy how much in the game has become so much more burst oriented. Everything's just centering around getting your good burst in. Thunderbreaker, boss, attack, crit. Okay, well, things considering like your inner ability is really solid, so that's nice. That gives you more liberty to not need a bunch of crit rate and stuff. I am seeing that you don't have any crit rate in your... So typically, if people need crit rate in their inner ability, it means that they're just lacking a lot of critical rate in their kit. And the reason you would go for critical rate in your inner ability is so that you can rely still on the critical rate in your hyperstats, and that you can free up an extra slot in your link skills. Because generally having a link skill that is not dedicated to critical rate but dedicated to something else will net you more damage than having a link skill that you have to rely on the critical rate for. It's like cheaper to get critical rate in your hyperstats than it is to get in your link skills. It's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, I actually cheat and I use decent sharp eyes to get myself up to 100% crit.
Oh no, that's counted in, yeah. Decent sharp eyes is pretty much in everyone's preview, except for the archers, of course, who already have higher crit rate just from the regular sharp eyes. But that's usually taking into account there, yeah. Okay, let's see. I think it's gonna be a matter of. So, what kind of money are you working with right now?
I'm actually pretty poor. Like I only have a bill in my bank right now.
Did you buy like DMT cubes and stuff?
No, I just haven't been training, haven't been like meso farming. Like I actually just skipped DMT completely.
I mean, it's probably for the best because it wasn't a good time anyway. So do you have a mesofarmer in your account, or?
No, I kind of don't like training on Kana. And so really just my main meso comes from my Thunderbreaker, just doing bosses, doing Ursus training. That's basically where my money comes from.
Are you doing Maple Tour?
No.
Okay, that's about 50 mil a day extra just for Maple Tour. That should be like 2-3 minutes a day. That could be a good habit to get into. Basically, between Ursus and Maple Tour, if you do that every week, then that's about a bill a week. If you do Maple Tour and Ursus every day, that's about 1 bill a week of your of income.
It's nice.
Which is a good solid foundation to then supplement with things like supplement with other things such as training and boss crystals and that kind of thing. Yeah. I don't think you have any other characters that can kill considerable bosses, right? Because your Shadow Warrior is like your second highest. Nothing that can be like CRA or something.
now.
Okay, okay. Okay, so what I'm seeing from your Legion is that you have room for a lot of cool stuff. And one of the things is that I am going to go ahead and guess that a lot of your characters that are in the Legion are not double S rank yet, but they're all A rank, right?
Yeah, I only have like 4 or 5 level 200s.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of them are just the A rank.
4, 4, 20, 24, 3, 72, 92. So it's like 40, 40, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then that line, yeah. So you're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 16, 18, 20. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Well, needless to say, I guess that having a bigger Legion would be nice. You have like the space for it, right? You have the whole grid unlocked. As you get more points, though, in your hyperstat. So wait, what is your total hyperstat distribution? You have 10 in damage, 10 in IED, 10 in critical damage, 8 in boss damage, and then oh, I see you have 10 in attack. Right, we're gonna move that. We're gonna move that around a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Because your boss damage. So I guess your boss damage is decent, definitely. Even though you don't, I don't remember you. Oh, you have 1 line on your weapon, and do you have a line on your secondary as well? Then to get to 220. Oh, you have an IED line there. Okay. Okay, where's your emblem? Is that? Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. If you're not like made out of money, then it's really painful to roll over 21 damage with 9 attack.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah. Like even just 2 lines of attack would be better, but not by enough to warrant rolling over it if you're not sitting on a bunch of money. Like if it was 12 and 9 attack, then it would definitely be an upgrade. But if it's like 9 and 9 attack, it's probably an upgrade, but not by that much to even warrant it. So you have to have a significant amount of money. What I will say is that your secondary can definitely be a lot better, because like a line of strength plus a line of damage together is like less than a line of attack. So you're basically sitting on an IED can even have 40% lines on prime. So you're sitting on like 1.2 lines or something on a 3-line item. So there's definitely a lot of room for improvement on the secondary. So if there was any cubing going to go on, then it's definitely there. That makes sense, right? Because of the value of the lines?
I think so.
You think so? Okay.
We'll
how can I? What part is still unclear there?
I just feel like I needed that 30% IED.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has 30% IED, which is useful, and then the other stats at least give something. But whether or not something gives... So this is basically like you have a hat or something that has 6% dex and then 6% strength and then 2 lines of dex, where you're like, well, I need strength, and the other things are dex, which also gives me something, so I'm going to keep this. But at a certain point, you want to stop seeing... this is like the baseline talk again that we just had. But when it comes to gear, at a certain point, you're looking for how much am I missing towards a reasonable line of expectations of how strong this item can be, versus how much better is this item than absolutely nothing.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
Looking at it from the other point. Because because once you start dumping a certain amount of money into all of your items, certain items you will just expect way more of them to just provide way more damage and way more utility for your character. And then this item in itself, like, it's just mainly your weapon, your secondary, and your emblem. You have just huge expectations, because those are the trifecta, the cornerstone that just fund your character and make you strong. So we just have high hopes for this one, basically, is what I'm saying.
No, that makes sense.
2 lines here, 2 lines here. So when you're bossing, do you feel like... Yeah, so you mentioned your mechanics, right? That's the one thing I like tried CRA for shits and giggles on my Thunderbreaker once with all the link skills on when he was 210, and I couldn't... Yeah, I felt hopeless. I don't know. Have you like checked out videos of people doing certain bosses and seeing what they do? Because I feel like the kit is very rough to solo boss with.
So unfortunately, there's not a lot of high-level Thunderbreakers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to find good examples. What I feel is when I'm bossing, when I need to dodge something or do something else really quickly, I feel like I get caught mid-animation, like mid-attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then like on the opposite side, like if I'm too careful and like waiting for that
then you
attack
do
to
no
come to
damage.
dodge, yeah, I just don't do any damage, and like I miss my burst potential.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the problem I had, but I'm very inexperienced, so I'm sure that there could be many more situations where I would end up not getting caught, but I didn't immediately see like a way that I could eliminate that entirely. They did make is that an upcoming change to make the, what is it, tidal wave faster or something?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That should be, that may be coming second half of the summer or maybe shortly after, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that would enable you to weave in your attacks a little bit faster together to hopefully lock you in place less. Oh, somebody's posting some videos in the chat. There's a Damien video and a Lotus video. No, and a Lucid video. Can you oh, he's posting another one. Is there a Lotus one? Tilde GMS. Wait, maybe we can see if they have a Lotus video. Videos. Yeah, I'm in the YouTube channel right now. Black Mage stuff. Have you found this person before? Tilde GMS.
No, never.
Pathfinder. Hang on. Control F. Lotus. Angelic Buster. Hard Lotus. Hard Lotus clear. Oh, this is non-reboot though, but I mean, as far as mechanics go, that shouldn't make a huge difference, right? Although they do have the best mechanic in the game, which is way more damage. Angelic Buster. Angelic Buster Lotus. Till the chips, I don't know which class this is. Oh no, this seems to be all Angelic Buster videos. Scania Guild, yeah. Oh, it's a name of the Scania Guild. Okay, gotcha. I mean, we could look at the Damien video for a little bit, I guess. You can see. The Horntail music starts playing. See what kind of stuff they do. So I guess they're binding here. They're doing the... Oh, they're locked into the dice. Get the sword in the corner. And then they're probably prepping all their stuff. Yeah. And then probably going to throw up the bind. Because you don't have a self-bind, right? You have to use Nova. And then use the iframe to approach. Okay, they bound him. No, they didn't bind him? Oh, they used the Lucid bind. And it's transparent, but yeah, you know what to do during a bind, right? You know which skills to use and...
Yeah.
This probably has changed since then, right? The this one? What is it? Overdrive or something that makes it so that you can use... Oh god, skill names. Your like hurricane thing that lasts shorter now, right?
Yeah, like the Gale.
Gale, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Typhoon.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that was interesting mobility that they used there, because they used their iframe to approach. They use their iframe here to not get knocked. And then here you have this situation right afterwards with the iframe on cooldown. So they went for the dash into, what is that, Thunder, I think? And then into the crash down again to only get a tick from the sword. I mean, it's probably unnecessary. I think they could have just jumped in the sword spot, healed one tick, and jumped out again. But They were going for some fancy play there. So that's like the anchor, right? The anchor and the gale that you're alternating, I think.
So he's probably using Annihilation and the Thunderbolt along with the Gale.
Yeah.
Like that's what it looks like.
And then just Shamu it, dash to the corner of the map to get out of the way. He's also got Breath of Divinity, of course, so that's also it's a little different. It's already got 4 stacks. Do they care about stacks when you have Breath of Divinity? I think that was a title crash, right? To be able to move like that. Little dash horizontally.
Yeah.
Seems to come down to... I guess, in general, I guess Damien's skills are more... Or just bigger movements and more bombastic, so you have a little bit more time to respond. I think the problem with Lotus is you have to be like on top of him, and he's constantly pushing you away. And then the platforms, and especially, how do you do the laser phase? Like, do you just constantly wail off the side and then go through the middle or something? Stay down in the middle. But I don't think the cooldown for wail is short enough, right? It's like 40 seconds.
Yeah, it's 45.
45, yeah. Like I can barely do it with World Reaver on the hero to stay down in the bottom. But that's half the cooldown, so you still have to be moving around the platform and everything.
You can use your flash skill to jump through the laser.
Oh, you have a flash skill, true. Does that like snap to a target, or is that just a certain distance?
It's a certain distance.
Okay. Okay, so you can stay on the bottom. So then you're just basically smashing the, what is it, anchor? What is it called? Annihilation?
Yeah.
Annihilation, Thunder, and then Gale if it's Gale every once in a while to get the buff, and then spam it if your hyper is active.
Pretty much.
Okay, and then you're just spamming it both like facing left and right, so you can kill the robots while you're doing that. Because it's multi-target, right? So you can kill the robots at the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So which phase of Lotus like kills you a lot? Is it phase 1? Like
No,
with the laser speeds up, or?
The laser speed up is tricky, but like I usually get past that. It's usually just phase 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm. So 2 is usually for most people the easiest phase. So but you probably just have very different challenges playing as a Thunderbreaker. So what is Primal Bolt? Oh yeah, Primal Bolt. I think that's the name. So what is which situations do you find yourself? Maybe what we could also do is like if you attempt a run sometime later, and then we just go over the run itself and kind of like look at what you could be doing and where you could be standing and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like specifically for Lotus. Do you have like the same? Because we just looked at Damien run a little bit. Do you see some things that you do very differently, or is it just phase 2 with the blue balls and you just end up timing out, or?
So I saw he was using the Primal Bolt Gale Hyper like combination, and I only use Gale for the extra damage boost. So like I don't use it as an attack.
Mm-hmm.
So that's different, but everything else pretty much mechanically is the same.
Yeah, I think the hyper skill changed in the meantime. I think it lasts way shorter now, and has a longer cooldown now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it's 120 seconds for the cooldown.
And it lasts what, like 30 or?
30 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it went from having like, I thought it had over 50% uptime, and now it has like 25. But the one thing is that if you use Gale now, it doesn't consume your lightning stacks anymore. So you don't have to like constantly rebuild your lightning stacks on all your hits. That like, because lightning stacks trump up your IED, right?
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, spamming Gale before was kind of risky because you constantly had to rebuild the stacks and you were hurting your IED, and especially if you're in a situation where your IED is very useful, Because for you, yeah, like see, like in your burst, you're at 94 visual, right? So that's definitely really good. But if it would get chumped off every time, and you go to 88 visual, then you're probably functionally only like around 90 or 91, and that's on the low end for those type of bosses. So that would be like the backlash that you would get from spamming Gale, but now you should be able to just spam Gale more freely without having that be like a negative thing. So that's at least one thing we can do it. The other thing, I guess in general, if you're going up to 94 visual, I almost feel like you don't need the ID line anymore. But probably. Have you calculated what your functional ID is?
Not at all.
Okay. Do you know of any sources in your kit that give you IED that only affects certain things? So one of them is, for example, like your stacking on your lightning charges, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So those do appear. Because there's a trade-off, right, between ID and because it's on the items that can also be getting attack. So if you get a line of ID there, that can help you get damage. But does it give you more damage than if you had a line of attack instead, right? That's always the thing that you have to wonder. Having one line of ID is probably fine. So typically people go for ID on the emblem because the secondary can also get boss damage. So then that gives you more outs on the emblem, right? Because if you go for the ID on the secondary, then basically the emblem is only good if it's fully attack. So then you only have one out. So then you increase the amount of money that you would spend on average to hit what you want to hit. So that's why people typically go for the IED or end up settling with like 90 IED, 40 IED, 9/9 attack, or like 30% with 12/9, something like that. And then for the secondary, either full attack or a combination of attack and boss damage. And on their weapon, basically the same thing as the secondary, but primarily try to get as much attack as possible. Because typically the weapon ends up being Abso or Arcana, so it ends up being in the level 160 area. So if you get a line of attack, then it's 1% more per line, up to a total of 3% more. So that's typically the distribution. But of course, familiars mess with that a little bit, and you having the codex being gone now and everything, and not being to getting that IED. But I think your IED is in a good spot. I'm gonna just like thinking about how to readjust everything a little bit. So one of the things that we can definitely do is take your points away from attack power in your hyperstats and put those into critical rate instead, which will allow us to move points that are in critical rate in your Legion away there and into critical damage instead. And then basically we're trading a little bit of weapon and magic attack for critical damage is basically what we're trading at that point.
Oh, okay.
Which will end up just making you stronger. And the other thing we can do is to see if you have enough critical rate to warrant it. We could move away from something like the Phantom Instinct Link skill, for example, and move into another one that just gives you more damage. But that kind of depends on what you have access to for your Legion. So you have 48 characters. Do you have every single character?
Yeah, every single character is at least 140.
Okay, so you have access to all of the level 2 links. Okay. Do you have any kind of desire or plans to go for any level 3 links?
Eventually. Like right now, like the goal was to get everyone to 200 and then get that 200 to 210 push. Mm-hmm.
One thing I would advise is if you're going to be pushing for 200 is to first do the 210 push on at least your 3 important ones, right? Your 3 experienced ones on the Evan, the Aaron, and the Mercedes, because that will speed up the process of getting the other ones from 140 to 200 so significantly. That's just like optimal way to do, because if you're getting everything to 200 first and then you're pushing some from 200 to 210, the value is going to be the value is going to be like too late in there, right? Sure. You're only going to have the value for the extra links going from 235 and beyond on your main, basically, because or from 200 to 210 on like 3 or 4 of the links that you're still pushing past. So I would push at least those 3. I would push those first, and arguably maybe the ones that give critical rate as well. because a lot of people underestimate that, but being able to give a lot of critical rate and maybe pushing it up to 100% for all your characters that you're training will make your overall damage on the character so much higher, because that means that the critical damage is always applying. It'll allow you to one-shot faster and allow you to just train way faster. So I think critical rate goes up to 15 at level 10. If you dodge 2 levels, you're at 11, right? 5 to 7, 9, 11. At level 8, so that would mean 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Because you're at the bottom half. So you still be 2 over. So 90 here. Okay. So if you move that to 10, because your boss damage is fine, 15. So that's another thing we could do, right? Because if you move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's 4.5 critical damage. I'm just doing some quick maths because don't know in the link skills. So for example, like you have a link skill like Judgment, right? Which gives you 4% critical damage, which is basically like 8 hexes of critical damage in your Legion, pretty much.
Yeah.
So like let's say you by redistributing your hyperstats, you don't lose a lot of damage, but you're able to move 8 critical rate from your Legion from critical rate to critical damage. And if you still have enough crit to get rid of, let's say, the Phantom Instinct, then you're basically doubling up on the Judgment Link skill. If you move those pieces, that's kind of like the type of like maths that we're trying to do to see like how can we properly distribute the points. Because boss damage would also be nice, but in burst you do go up to 550%. So I'm thinking that the critical damage, since you are always on 100% critical rate, that the critical damage might be more important for you here because your ID is already in a good spot. And again, yeah, moving away from the attack, your range is going to go down a little bit, but your actual damage output is going to go up. But yeah, like the boss mechanics thing, that's like something we can circle back to on a later date. Like if you're having trouble with phase 2 and phase 3 Lotus, we could do that like specifically on another moment if you have like a recording of yourself. And then we could go through that like step by step. See if I can muster up some Thunderbreaker mechanics. Oh, you only need 2 main boost nodes for Thunderbreaker?
So I was kind of playing around with my nodes a little bit, thinking that instead of using Thunderbolt and Annihilation, using Lightning Punch and Annihilation, because Lightning Punch is faster. So Lightning Punch hits not as hard as Thunder, but it's quicker. So I thought that that might get me out of that, like the animation faster.
Especially when you're bossing, that could be very useful, yeah. Let's see. In general, people get Ascension, Thunder, Thunderbolt, Shark Sweep, and then Annihilation, and then Gale Typhoon. Like those 6. Some people seem to be questioning what the order should be. Is Shark Sweep that no, that's a 5th job skill, right? Sharks, that giant shark that you like throw through the map every now and then, that's a that's a 5th job, yeah. Which one is Shark Sweep?
Shark Torpedo is the 5th job. The Shark Sweep is the 2nd job skill.
God, there's so many shark skills. That's not the one that just bites, right?
No.
Oh. Is it the one that makes you like go up? No, that wouldn't.
It's the one you do a backflip.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, backflip. Got it. Yeah, because the way I see it, just having all of your skills buffed is probably going to be more valuable. Because I gotta ask, why do I see decent hyper body in your matrix?
It's kind of useless, but I don't really have anything else to put there, I guess. Like, I could put loaded dice.
Yeah, so loaded dice is incredibly fucking good. So loaded dice just gives you passive damage, right? Passive weapon attack. And then it allows you to roll whatever dice you want to load your next roll. And then you also get the skill roll the dice. And then you can either get I don't know the exact numbers, but you'll just get one die, right? Because you don't have your own roll of the dice skill.
Gotcha.
So it's the same as arc. So basically, you either get a bunch of critical rate if you're short on that, but you probably don't get that. You can get extra damage. I think if you roll 5 dice, I always forget the percentage. Oh, is it 25% extra damage or something? Or you can get extra experience when you're training, which is just really good. It's infinitely more valuable than decent hyper body. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll replace that.
Yeah. Another thing, like overdrive can be useful definitely in the burst, and you lack burst in general, so that is good. But usually that is a skill that you only start using a bit later on, because the amount of damage that it gives you depends on the base attack of your weapon. And knuckle base attack it's not horrible, but it's also not amazing. And typically doesn't really come into play until you have Absol or higher. That's when it starts really being like a big boost. So until then, I'm not 100% sure on the combination of things. I guess for your bossing setup it would make sense, but if you're mobbing, it's probably better to switch that one and the goddess out for like the set of 2 extra boost nodes, so that you give more freedom to you do whatever kind of combination of skills that you feel is necessary or that in the moment works, and that still kills the minions when you're training. Gotcha. So working on like that second set of do you remember the 6 skills I mentioned?
I'd have to go back.
Yeah, they're here on
sure
this.
I remember.
Yeah, they're here on the screen now. Like shark sweep, annihilate. That's the shark chomp, right? That's annihilate. And then thunder is like the smack.
Thunder is the big hammer, and then annihilates the like shark.
Yeah.
Bite.
Yeah. And then Gale Typhoon, Ascension. That's the one that makes you like twirl up into the air, and then you like dive down after that usually, right? That's like the early mobility when you're rolling through the map.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the other mobility is like you're smashing and gliding through the map, right? Yeah, those are like the 2 main ways. But then you can also kind of chain them together to do like Cirque du Soleil shit while you're Someone said shark sweep is useless. You replace Dark Sheep with Deep Rising for boost nodes. Deep Rising. Which one is that? Oh, with the iframe.
Oh,
okay, that's what I was guessing.
Whale.
The old Shamu, yeah. Just so that one hits harder. Shark sweep is useless. Let's see. Shark sweep. Maple Star. Is this second job? Yeah. What about the TB nodes? But that node setup guide is definitely outdated for a lot of classes. It is. We have to remake that one as well. Just, yeah, one of the many things that's on the to-do list. Okay, so some people argue Shark Sweep switching for your hyper might it is your hyper, right? Yeah. Might be a good thing to get more damage on there if you don't really use the skill much. Do you find yourself using Shark Sweep a lot, or?
Absolutely never.
Shark Sweep is used to combo Thunderbolt and Annihilate, so you have less of an animation lock. It's not useless. Oh. See, these are like the specific Thunderbreaker things that I'm not fully aware of. I use Lightning Punch over Shark Sweep, but they serve the same purpose. Okay, gotcha. But you were already experimenting with Lightning Punch, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you find that helping your mobility more or getting stuck less, I guess?
It was better.
It's better, okay. Okay. Are you in the Thunderbreaker Discord as well?
I'm actually not, no.
Because maybe you can find some Thunderbreakers with like similar concerns, or some Thunderbreakers who are more aware of how to specifically like, because the way I see it, Thunderbreaker has like a lot of ways to cycle things together, and some people just prefer different things. It's not necessarily better or worse. It's like similar, but depending on what you like playing and what kind of mobility you're used to, maybe getting different boost nodes would make more sense for you. So maybe the discussion in there could be, if there's a few people who are willing to like work with you, specifically knowing way more about Thunderbreaker than me, that could help you out as well. So if you join the are you in Maple Central Discord?
Nope.
Okay, if you check !Discord, there's a link for that one as well. You can join Maple Central, and then on the left side there'll be like a role assigning, and then you can select Thunderbreaker there, and then you'll get access to the Thunderbreaker specific Discord, and it's just a bunch of Thunderbreakers in there just talking about Thunderbreaker things.
Gotcha.
So some more specific things that you have. If you're like how do I do Lotus and Damien here and there, maybe they can have like a specific video of like, hey, here's how a Thunderbreaker does it, with like a lot of good tips, right? Maybe they can find that one for you much more easily. Someone could have like a database on this kind of thing. Yeah, when it gets like too specific like that, because some classes are just more intricate to play and have way more nuances that I just can't be on top of because there's so many classes. So sometimes I have to like defer to the professionals that do exist, I guess. So that could help you out there. But as far as like specific changes, I think we want to, okay, so critical rate from here. So you have 15 from Phantom Instinct, 7 from Focus Spirit, and you have all the other ones. So do you have the you have both the Marksman and the Night Lord at rank at rank S, sorry, both active in your Legion? Yeah, oh yeah, I can see here, yeah. You have both 3% critical rate. One gets a colon and the other one doesn't. And you have 13? 9. Oh yeah, 9% critical rate from the grid. Okay, so 16 from here, 15 from here, then 15 here, 30, 37, 18, 55. And then you have like one skill that gives you a bunch, and then 10. Okay, so what if we moved... Yeah, you want damage, you want boss damage. Boss damage always nice. Okay. Then I gotta look at all the other stuff to see where you can make some gains. So typically to get to the point where you can solo these, it's like mainly a mechanics check, of course. With this gear, you know, unless your gear is like absolutely insane, then you can just roll your face on your keyboard and kill it. Check, 9, glove.
I do feel like my some of my potential could be a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely some room for improvement for sure. Yeah, first I'm just gonna look at all the stuff you have and then figure out what is like the right move forward, kind of keeping in mind how much everything could cost. And some things that you don't want to touch at all that are like absolutely fine the way they are. Aether, 50, 70, Crystal 80. Oh yeah, and the other thing is that you're quote-unquote missing a lot of damage because you have some items that are still, like accessories that are still with Mesoobtain or drop rate on them, right? So those lines are not being utilized, but that shouldn't be, that in itself shouldn't be like the main thing where it's like, oh, this is why I can't kill a boss. It's more like just something to keep in mind in the back. I mean, your totems are even better than my arc, for example, so it's still, that's still fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
kept the item drop rate in the on some of those items just because I really didn't want to have to switch at the end of the boss fight to try and get the drop, like that clunky kind of transition.
Yeah, no, I hit that as well. I'd rather have the boss fight be a little bit more challenging, a little bit longer, but then know that I can just pop like a coupon maybe and remember to press holy symbol and that's it, and not sit in a corner or hope to not die, switch a bunch of gears. Yeah, fuck all of that. Yeah, I feel you on that. Okay, but like already changing decent hyper body for roll of the dice. So you'll have to apply roll of the dice to 2 buttons, right? One to do the loading, and then one to do the actual rolling.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you check your skill window, you'll see 2 skills in there. Why am I AFK here instead of in a chair? So typically you'll go for 5, right? And then 6 if you're training. You have to press the number on your keyboard to like roll the number, I guess. Okay, so you're also always debuffing, judgment, tied to battle because you're constantly moving. That makes sense. Yeah, your link skill setup is fine. Yeah, that one's fine. Like switching, a lot of these though have well, a lot. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of these, so over half of them have the potential though to get to level 3 instead of level 2, and all of that added together will be a decent boost. But yeah, you're talking about getting 7 characters from 140 to 210, so that's like decent time investment. So it's not something you're just gonna do overnight, but there is room for growth there, is what I'm trying to say. Like you have the right ones applied, but there is still room for growth even within that. Then when it comes to your Legion, if you have, so we talked about critical rate before. Since you have the 18% critical line, you have enough critical rate now. This is the point where you want to move your hyperstats into. But I'm trying to make it so that you, if you move your stats for you, that you don't immediately have to like move them all again. So it's 35 will be 45. That's not enough for 2 there. Do you have any points in strength in hyperstats? No, you
Nope.
don't. Okay, no. Okay, doing maths. How much does it cost to get 1 to 10? It's 1, 2, 4, 8, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Oh god. 1, 2, 4, 8, 10 is 25. And then, wait, let's do this visually. 40, 60, 85, 110, 145. Okay, so 145 to get 1 to level 10. Yeah, I'm thinking about crushing stuff with your boss damage, but your boss damage is already pretty good. I think your ID is high enough. But if you boost some stuff more into your ID, then that could make it so that we can roll out of a line of your IED. We need to, okay, here's one thing we need to do. We need to calculate your functional IED. Do you know if there's like stuff in your kit that gives you extra IED? Like passive hyperstats are usually one. Boss debuffs could be one. Skill innate IEDs could be one.
Just the like lightning charges.
Just the lightning charges? Nothing else that you know that gives you ID?
No, that should be it.
Okay, so then it's only boost nodes at that point, right?
Right.
So boost nodes give the number 40. And your boost nodes are at... Are they past level 40? Yeah, they are, right? They're 41. Because level 18 and level 23. Yeah, so 41. Maybe an extra level now. So you get extra 20% ID there. So if you have 94, 20% of 6 missing 1.2, so you're at 95 point effective. So if you remove a 30% from 95.2, roughly effective. If you would remove 30, then you would get, is it 93, 7? I think you end up with 93, which is kind of clutch. Okay, so we're not trying to lose IED. Okay, and what was your emblem again? Into 1299, yeah. All right, this is gonna be the project. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, your emblem wants 1 line of IED and 1 line of attack at least. And then your secondary could just have whatever you want in any combination of attack and boss damage. So try to have at least 2 useful lines within that as well. At least 1 line of boss, at least 1 line of attack. Just don't settle for a 20% boss, because those are not good.
Gotcha.
So basically we're trying to move the IED that you have now on your secondary onto your emblem, replacing the damage percentages there. And so the 21% damage is nice, but that is basically one 20% damage line that you could get on your secondary, but instead get a 30% there that would just replace those 2 lines, right? So we're just basically trying to shift 1 line to the other one and give the secondary more chance to make up for the damage that you would need to compensate for what you would be losing on the emblem. Yeah. Because if you look at it like that, you're basically using about... Yeah, so if you see the 9% damage on your secondary, plus the 9% damage and the 12% damage on your Cygnus emblem, that's 30% damage, which is basically 1 line of 30% boss, essentially, right? Because percentage damage isn't that important anymore for mobbing, because you don't really have trouble one-shotting, right?
Right.
Because of your final damage, arcane power, all of that. So that's essentially 1 line of boss damage that put together. So essentially what you have between your emblem and your secondary is a line of 30% IED, a line of 30% boss damage, a line of 9 attack, and a line of 12% strength. So even though it looks like both of them kind of all have useful lines, essentially you have like 3 lines and 1 line of strength on 6 lines. So you're actually only using like just over half of the potential of these items. And that while they are so useful and can give you so much. So that's where the most of the work is going to have to happen. So 1 line of IED, 1 line of attack at least. If you get that on your emblem and you get 1 line of boss, at least 30%, and 1 line of attack on your secondary, then you're already upgrading from 3 lines and a little bit to 4. That's already an upgrade there. If you can get, of course, one of these 2 to have 3 lines that are useful, or both of them to have like a line of strength along with it, then it's basically already a full line upgrade toward what you have now, and you'll go from 3-point-something lines to 4-point-something lines, which is an efficiency increase of 33% of the potential of the items, which is huge, considerable. Eventually, what would be perfect for you probably is like 40 IED, 9 on the emblem, and then maybe on the jewel. But the reason I'm saying just go for that, like 1 line now, is because when familiars come back, they might change up how we deal with IED, and then maybe you just have to go for full attack on everything. Or the boss gets away from your secondary, and that one can be re-rolled for full attack. But by the time then, when you're going to min-max that, you won't be forced to like roll over something that you just spent so much money getting because it's so because you were min-maxing it already. But instead, it's something that you won't feel so bad rolling over because it isn't min-maxed yet.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's your foundation. The other thing that you could do is flame your weapon, but I don't know how close you are to Absolab. Because the base 31. Oh. No, 120. Yeah, because it's tier 5. How far are you to Absol weapon?
I have no coins, or I don't do the dailies for the trade-in.
Okay. Well, you clearly don't because they're weeklies now. Probably haven't done them in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, so they're weeklies now. So per week you get less, but it's less effort per coin. It's pretty easy for because you would get your weapon through Damien, right? The Dark World Tree weeklies are actually pretty easy now. You can do them all probably like within 10 minutes, and then you're done for the whole week.
Oh wow.
Maybe 15 minutes on like the slower ones, but if you roll the appropriate ones, you can probably have it all done in 10 to 15 minutes. And then you're just done for the week. Because it's if you're only able to do it on one character per account, it actually takes longer to get them all done. Like in a calendar sense, but not in an amount of time spent sense. So if you just keep up with that a little bit every week, then you'll just have that bank built up, and then you can just buy the item whenever. Because you'll need 5 drops as well from Damien, and so you don't have any Damien drops right now, right? You haven't cleared them?
Yeah, no Damien.
Okay. Are you like intent on going for the solo right now, or would you want to do like struggle parties first, or?
Either or. I haven't been actively going out and looking for parties. Like I've just been trying to solo.
Okay, because somebody mentioned to me that they're gonna do a struggle party that has 3 people right now, so I would be the 4th one. I would be on my cannoneer. That would be like 4 hours 45 minutes from now. Yeah, Giraffe is in the chat. He was organizing it. So if you want to join us for that run, you could join.
That's at like what, like 12:30 or something.
It's basically when we do flag race and then Ursus, right? And like the hour after we do flag race, basically. So 4 hours and 45 minutes from now would be the run. I don't know if you can make that. But.
Yeah, I can make that.
Cool. Well, now we got 5, man. You said no to us. Okay. What I said was, if there's a run organized and you need someone, I'll do my best to make it, okay? I don't want to be the person that it hinges on whether or not there's even going to be a run in the first place. Because then, once that starts, every time I can make it, then everyone's like, well, I guess we're not going because Scardo's not going, and then nothing happens. I want it to be like nice and cool and an extra if I'm there. I don't want it to be the requirement for there to be a thing in the first place. That's what I said, all right? No fucking trolling me in the chat right now. Yeah, so aside from that, there's going to be like general min-maxing on all of the items a little bit, and all of that coming together is going to overall make you quite a bit stronger. The main thing, I would have to say, like in general, your accessories are all like in a really good position. So those are like not priorities right now. The main thing to focus on is like all the other stuff, I guess. The shoulder is fine, badge is fine. Secondary and emblem we talked about. So the iron face, like that's wait, that's the face. Where's the eye? Oh, I think I'm missing the eye, by the way. Yeah, it's because it's a pink bean mark or something.
Oh, did I not put that in there?
Black bean mark. It's okay. Everyone else gets one.
So the black bean is 12-star, 20% drop, 60% all stat, 9% MP, with a flame of 21 strength, 35 dex, 5 speed, and 3% all stat.
Okay. So yeah, for temp, those are fine. And then eventually, basically, once you're working on getting everything to 15 stars, and then try to push it beyond 15 stars, that's when all of the Sweetwater accessories and stuff start coming into play. So you could, I guess, with how, because you've played for a long time, but with how you play, I guess the best approach for Commercy and everything would just to be the short-term approach, right? Because if you check the Commercy command, there's like 2 approaches. And I think it's best to just aim for the one where you just get everything 17. Because if you eventually get that, you'll definitely be able to solo Lotus and Damien, and then eventually just like be in normal Lucid party. Because you do have a lot of lines, so you can also have some Golem Clear, has some extra added value. But that will help you get there. So starting building up the Narrows now will make it so that you don't really have to worry about your current accessories, because you know that, you know, the better ones will come eventually, and that'll typically just depend on when an event comes, and then you'll just pounce on the event when that comes around. But yeah, we would have to implore to start doing some CPQs and some daily dinero runs, some solo voyages.
Gotcha. Really quick, I feel like having Tyrant Boots and Tyrant Cape is like a waste of space. Would a good goal be just to replace those with Abso, like eventually?
Eventually, yeah. For now, they're fine, right? Because their base stats are really good. Then eventually, the set bonus of Abso, and again, once you go past 15 stars and a lot of extra weapon and magic attack that you get on them, that will help you overpower Tyrant. But Tyrant doesn't get overpowered very easily. They are very, very strong. You have like 1 star on each, which is like the easy, simple 19 extra stat, right? And they also have flame advantage, so they don't get super overpowered very easily. You have to make a significant investment in them. Yeah, one of the things you can do, because you'll probably need to do the scrapyard weeklies more and kill Lotus more, right, to be able to run that as well. One of the things you could do is, scrapyard weeklies as well, build those up. And another thing on the side that you can do is whenever there is a Starforce event and you don't have the Absolute weapons yet, you can invest in a level 150 item and Starforce that one already, so that when there is another event that comes, when there is a 5, 10, 15 that comes out, that you can simply get the level 150 item to 16, transfer hammered into the Abso, and then have a 15-star Abso that you can then either, if you have the money, get to 17, or sit on and just wait for the next event. That way you can kind of disconnect the item from the upgrading of the item by using transfer hammer in your advantage.
Gotcha.
But you have a lot of items. Well, yeah, a decent amount of items to all get to 15 though, and if you only have 1 bill now, then that might be too much. Like the next 30% off is in 5 days, so that's pretty it's pretty close. It's like next Sunday.
It's pretty good.
So we could dump some money into that. So I wouldn't bother anything with the shoulder, because that's going to go into the Absolute shoulder. It doesn't go past 15, so the Star Force is fine, whatever. The Exorcist badge, you can get to 17, but that's like a very late thing because it doesn't get weapon attack as you upgrade it past 15. So that's very low efficiency on that. Might hold... Like the cubing, if you didn't buy the DMD cubes and anything on sale, probably... I'm thinking if it's more worth to just hold onto your money and get a few items to 15 this Sunday, or if it's worth to focus on your emblem and your secondary first now, because you're having no trouble mobbing, and you're going to be working on your mechanics as well, and hopefully get some advice for more Thunderbreakers. So I would almost be inclined to like sit on your weapon and your secondary and your emblem a little bit longer, and first focus on getting those items to 15 stars. Because I'm expecting there to be a 5, 10, 15 event in the second half of the summer, and then you'll be able to use that to get everything to 17 and get a huge boost from that. And if you then after that, once that stuff is 17, then go back to your secondary and your emblem, that's when you'll see those big changes. And then for now, what we'll do is like move your hyperstats and your Legion around to kind of min-max on there. And then that in combination with the current star forcing, that could already, and in combination with the hopefully some good advice that you can get from other Thunderbreakers, could already net some immediate results. Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense. Basically, just move the attack power hyper into crit rate, and then move the crit rate Legion into crit damage.
So, well, if you move all of the attack power into the crit rate, what would happen is you would go over, and so what you want is either to move over enough to account for the fact that you can get rid of a link skill and like Phantom Instinct and move in with something else. But if you can't do that, then you only want to move into it as much as is needed, right? So you have 9 in critical rate right now, and if you move those 9 into your hyperstat instead, that means you have level 7 there. So that would mean 7 in crit rate, and then you could move your boss damage up to 8, for example. But that would leave you with the amount of points of 7 to 8 plus 17. And 7 to 8... Wait, 1, 2, 4, 8, 10, 15, 20 is 25, and 17 is 42. Which... Which could mean that if you go... Okay, I think you can do this. I think you could do 7 crit rate, 10 critical damage, 10 IED, and then 9 damage, and then 11 boss damage. I think you can do that. So 7, 10, 10... 7, 10, 10, 9, 11, I think. Could you try if you can make that work?
What was the 9?
Regular damage. So once you go above 10 on boss damage, so if you go above 10 on damage, it adds plus 3. But if you go above 10 on boss damage, it adds plus 4. So that's why I'm trying to see if we can make that one happen. So you're trading in 3% damage for 4% boss damage.
All right, let me try that. I just reset. So 7 crit, 10 ID, 10 damage, 11 boss, and then 9 regular damage, right?
Yeah, I think you can do that.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah, there has been. I'm just gonna talk to chat for a little bit. There has been confusion in the past about 5, 10, 15 events because sometimes they said that there would be 100% chance 2, 5, 2, 10, and 2, 15, but it's just the preposition 2 should have been on. It's on 5. So from 5 to 6, from 10 to 11, from 15 to 16. There has been improper wording in events in the past that has sparked confusion among some people about what does a 5, 10, 15 really mean. But it means that the 5, 10, and 15 are the safe spots. You can already not go down, and you're 100% chance to go up from there. Sadly, it's not a 5, 10, 15, 20 event yet. That would be nice if 20 to 21 was really free, but that would be too much probably. Would be cool though. Yeah, it could be a bad translation from KMS as well, yeah. Does that work, Brian?
I'm putting the last points into damage right now.
Okay. And I think you should have a little bit left.
I have 27 left.
Yeah, and that's not enough to get damage to 10, right? Because it needs 35.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
so you're 8 points shy. Are you close to leveling?
No, I'm 8%.
8%, okay. Wait, do you have the Typhoon Growth Potion used?
Nope.
Do you have it? Do you have enough coins in the fountain?
I do not.
Okay. Damn, that would have been the free level. And then you would have gotten your 8 points and you would have gotten damage to 10. Okay. So one thing you could do is just wait until you level and then put the points in damage, or you could just dump now your leftovers into attack power and then anything you have left into strength to min-max your leftover points. It's kind of on you. It depends on how quickly you think you're going to be leveling. 27 would be would be probably level 6 attack with 2 points left, I think.
So basically that's what you do after damage is 10, just put into attack and strength.
Yeah, until you have enough points to get one of those big guys up past 10 again. Then you just redo it all again, and then if you have like a few points left, you just dump a little bit into attack, and if there's anything left, then you dump it into strength. That's generally how you do it, yeah. Crit rate, crit damage, IED, damage, boss damage, those are like your huge ones that determine everything else. Crit rate has to be in order to make sure that your crit damage can apply. Crit damage is very good, but past 10 has bad efficiency, and you want to rely more on that in your glove and in your link skills, in your legion, both your legion grid and your legion members, and more there and less in your hyperstats. Like up to 10 it's really good, but past that it just becomes too expensive. IED is good because it does become more expensive, but it also becomes better because bigger chunks of IED have more efficiency. Damage is good, but also again not as much better because flat damage is nice, but the fact that boss damage for the same points installed gives you 4% instead of 3% per level makes boss damage more desirable to go past 10, because damage and boss damage get thrown into one pile anyway when you're fighting bosses, and that's mainly where we want damage. It's not when we're mobbing, so boss damage is just more valuable there.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this allows us to move your critical rate pieces into critical damage. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you have that one little piece that's like in the elbow between attack and critical damage that's like sticking out there. And if you move that one over like horizontally, then you would be able to completely fill critical damage.
It's just a big old puzzle.
Yeah, it's a big old puzzle. So in the end, what you'll have is you'll have the same amount of ignored defense now that you'll work on later once you have more pieces, bigger pieces. And then that horizontal line over into boss damage, and then the same amount into boss damage that you have now. Your critical rate will be completely empty. The one little extra piece between that's now an MP will be moved into critical damage, and the pieces from critical rate will be moved into critical damage to make critical damage completely full and give you plus 20%. That'll be your like final look, but you probably have to move all the pieces that are in critical damage out now and just redo that, because yeah, except if you have like a bunch of level 140 mages and level 140 or 200 archers, it's very difficult to fill that last one up. Because it's just a beautiful straight line, and none of the pieces are beautiful straight lines except for those two. So
yeah, that'll be a challenge.
Yeah, no, I believe in you. You see me play some Tetris, right? Like just channel your inner Tetris builder, and you'll get it. Okay, specifically more for the gear. Yeah, the fact that your hat is already legendary is annoying, right? Because there's so many junk lines. So many bad results, but the hat needs like better potential. That's important. But yeah, so first and foremost, this Sunday, 30% off. Try to get as many items to 15 as possible. Just go one item at a time to 15. Don't go like everything to 13, everything to 14, everything to 15 like that. Because you want to get to 15 so you can capitalize on that investment when the 5, 10, 15 comes out, so you can get the extra weapon attack from 16, from 17. So the items on the block are definitely like all of your CRA, your glove, and did you have something else that was CRA? Oh, and then your accessories, I guess. So the average costs, Star Force, item level 150, normal. We're definitely star catching. Do you have backups for CRA?
I can make backups of, let's see.
Yeah, like do you have a bunch of those emblems is what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, the first 3 doors I have a bunch of backups, but not for Vellum.
Okay, yeah, but the weapon's already 17, so that's fine. What is a bunch? Like how many emblems do you have? Like 30 or like 80 or?
I have 260.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, that's good. It's just the order of magnitude is... so probably if you're going to 15, you just don't safeguard then. You can see, well, we can look at the difference, right? So now they're 12, you're going to 15, and there is no MVP. Oh, wait, do you have an MVP discount?
No, I don't.
And then there is a 30% off. So you calculate, and then, yeah, it's like 500-600 mil. So if you don't safeguard, then it's, you know, it costs like half. The amount of average booms almost doesn't go up to 15. See, like if you safeguard, obviously it's 0. If you don't safeguard, the average boom is wow, that number changed quite a bit with a different test. Maybe you should throw some more numbers in, but it's about like a 25% chance that you boom 1. So if you do 3 items, if you do 4 items, then there is a decent chance that one of them blows up. And that you have to but then you restart from 12 where you already were, right?
Right.
And you have the backups, so it's not the end of the world. Well, it definitely isn't, but but because you're doing that, you're doing it at half the cost. So, and there is other items, basically all of your accessories, that if you want to get those to 15, you're going to have to safeguard those. So the ones where you already put in the work, right? You did all the bosses. There's value in having done those bosses, value in having backups, and value that you don't have to spend in safeguarding, but that you can extract from those items by not safeguarding. So that's what we want to do, especially when you have limited resources. So the glove we do want to safeguard because we're not about making a bunch of extra Absolab items, right?
Right.
And so CRA, don't have to safeguard, power through those. But there's already a decent chance that by doing those 3, there's already a good chance that that's already like, that could be like between 800 mil and a bill or something. That's possible to get those to 15. And then the glove is higher level. With safeguard. Yeah, so that one's more likely to be like between 600 and 700 mil. Just by itself, right? And then you have to also take into account getting it from 15 to 17 is almost like the same cost added to it again. But then it becomes way more impressive how much it actually makes you stronger. Up to 15, you're almost not going to notice that you're actually getting stronger. But the main thing is once you get to 15 to 17, that's when the shit gets real, basically. Yeah, so after the glove, if you don't have money left, you can go like buy the accessories, but you'll have to safeguard those as well. So that might get pretty expensive. But yeah, just focus on the earrings, the rings, the pendants. Yeah, just any of those that you can get to 15, basically. But focus on the CRA, no safeguard, and then the glove. Like those are the most important ones for now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've been kind of not wanting to reroll the CRA top just because I thought that invincible for 1 second when hit was super valuable. But what value does that actually have?
I think the main value it has is when you are in Tower of Oz and you're trying to go through the jump quest, I think.
Oh.
So you don't get like knocked around by the things and knocked off of platforms. I think that's where it has the most value, honestly. Yeah, I think it's better to just roll for more strength. I would just use Master Craftsman on the top and try to roll for 2 lines of strength. Not bother to try to get it to legendary. I would have given you the same advice with the hat to keep it unique and just roll with Master Craftsman, but it's already legendary, so it's kind of stuck there. But yeah, I don't want to focus too much on the potential. Well, we can talk about the potential where you would want it to be at, but main focus is like the Star Force now to get stuff to 15.
Okay.
But yeah, so you can, if you have Master Craftsman, you can throw those on your top and try to get 2 lines of strength there. And your, well, I guess your flames are all around the same level. That's fine. The pants are nice the way they are for sure. It's good potential. Shoes are fine. Glove is fine. Glove is great for now. So that's just only Star Force. Belt wise, yeah, you're not particularly killing Helix right now, are you?
No, I'm not. Like he's a lot more challenging now.
Yep. Are you able to hard looks?
I've only tried a handful of times. Like I really haven't tried to learn his new mechanics yet.
Because if you can do hard looks, you will still be building up coins to buy items eventually. I guess you'll just keep this belt for a while anyway. Like there's a potential is decent. Yeah, fuck it. You just don't want to have to like Star Force's reinforced belt to 17 or something. I mean, you can transfer hammer it into the superior, right? So it's also not the end of the world. But having to like safeguard reinforced belt, you'd almost rather just be non-safeguarding a bunch of pink bean belts to high Star Force and then transfer hammered into a superior once you get one of those and then just cube it afterwards. Right? It's like a general progression. Yeah,
because flaming those is ridiculous.
Yeah, you're just aiming for like anything above 20 or something. It's and there's plenty of room for you to gain more flame stats from your CRA stuff, for example. That you definitely don't want to be flaming the reinforced belt or something. So cape is fine. Yeah, that's all just gonna depend. Like your Abslab stuff is not gonna come super quickly, so But the Tyrant, Shoe, and Cape can just stay whatever they are right now. That's fine. Heart is fine. Metal's fine. And then definitely working on the Daenerys to eventually go for the tattoo and the monocle. But those are probably just going to come into play when the next 30% off happens after this one. And then you're trying to get those 2 to 15. But that's like probably months from now. So you have plenty of time to start working on those. And then it's going to depend in between the 30% off and the 5, 10, 15, how much time you have to build up money. It's going to depend whether we go for the emblem and the secondary then, or if you focus first on getting those items that you got to 15 also to 17, and then after that work on the emblem and the secondary. And if they do some kind of compensation with cubes, maybe. Or with DMT, right? That might be a factor as well. So that also gives you some more breathing room to hopefully, maybe by that time it's like July 22nd, Familiars came back, and then maybe you have updated information on like, okay, now I know I have access to more ID or I have access to more boss damage. Now I know specifically what I want to go for on the emblem and the secondary, and then you can more directly, with a clearer goal in mind, roll those two. Shoulder's fine, it's going to be Abzo, Cup is fine. Yeah, and then your accessories are fine. It's just like, it's only Star Forcing there, basically. Yeah, the Legion is, 6k is good, but it feels like your grid is so empty, right?
Yeah, it really does.
There's so much free space, yeah. It almost feels bad to reach 6k, because you're like, oh god, now there's so much more room for improvement. But yeah, moving over to crit rate, and you have all the characters at level 2, that's already great, yeah. Yeah, I think pushing to 200, if that's something you enjoy, like building out the Legion, because you don't see a lot of people who already have over 6k Legion and their main is quote-unquote only 235. So I'm guessing you just enjoy experiencing some different characters as well?
Yeah, it kind of breaks up the monotony of grinding for ever and ever and ever.
Yeah, that's good. So try to like maintain a balance there. I would definitely say getting those 3 base links with experience to 210 first, if you're planning on getting everything to 200 anyway, is like a very solid foundation, and arguably maybe the Phantom. Some of those characters might need... did you already give a character the Absolab, or did you not participate in the relay?
I didn't participate.
Okay. There is a chance that the second half of the summer has another relay event, because they tend to do those back-to-back. I guess, again, I'm being careful, guys. It's possible. No guarantees. Okay. If there is another relay, you could give an Absolab weapon to one of the characters that might be a little more tricky to get to 210. Typically, the Aaron has no real problems, just because they're pretty strong by themselves. Evan playstyle and Mercedes playstyle is generally not loved by many, so that can definitely get a lot of value out of having a fake Absolab item. And if you decide to maybe do the Phantom, that could benefit from it as well, because crit rate very good for leveling Legion mules. And then slowly working on that arcane power is going to make you stronger and stronger over time as well. How's your stat window looking now? So your boss damage is at what now? 230?
232.
232. Okay. And then your ID is probably still at 88, right?
Yeah, 88.
Okay, but your crit rate goes up to 100, and then your critical damage should be going up to 100 and... six? Once you have those pieces moved. And then all you lost was... You did lose some weapon attack. That's about it. Yeah, you have 5% damage to normal... The thing with 5% damage to normal monsters is it goes into your visible range, but it doesn't get applied when you're fighting bosses. So eventually people try to min-max that to get some attack there. But yeah, that's a very late endgame thing. In general, I would say your invulnerability is pretty much finished.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of honor to reroll that either.
Yeah, that would be purely a thing of waiting until there's a 50% off and then just roll some Hail Marys, basically. because you're locking in 2 lines, so it's super expensive. It's like even with 50% off, it's like 10k per roll or something. It's not too many rolls. Yeah, that's like a very min-maxy small thing. But you know, people are like, oh, you can get 21 attack, which is basically, what is it, like a level 7 hyperstat, right? That you could just get for free. But the odds are so astronomically low. Okay. Yes, we went over that. Your ID is still fine for now. Okay, so we do have the long-term plans with the emblem and the secondary, but it's really going to come into play only when we already know more about familiars, because we're focusing on star forcing first. Oh yeah, in general, the cubing. Okay, so in general, the cubing, hat needs to be improved, top needs to be improved, keep top unique. Everything else is pretty much okay, potential-wise. Yeah. The only thing you're going to be working on is the items you don't have yet. So the Sweetwater Iron Phase, and the Absolute gear that you don't have yet. Like, that's where a lot of the improvement is going to come from as well. Both the potential, the flames, and then the Star Force as well. All of those aspects, but those items aren't there yet. So, but you know that those need to be at a certain level. And if you're ever wondering where you want them roughly, Star Force wise, you basically go by level, like the highest level items on the highest Star Force. But you're just aiming for 17 on everything. That's like the general trend. Going up to 15 during a 30% off, 15 to 17 during a 5, 10, 15 event. Of course, if those events keep happening, because just like with the DMT, apparently that's not a set in stone thing. For flaming, you know the progression tab, right? You can see what kind of flame score you're going to be aiming for.
Yep.
And for potential, again, priority on the highest level items, because 160 has the higher tier. So the same outcome will have 2% more stat there, which if you divide that over 4 items or 5 items, that's 10% extra. So that's basically an extra free line. And that's, yeah, and the items with the least variance first, right? So things like CRA and stuff are low on the list because they have more variance and are on average more expensive to get the same relevant results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I got a good plan.
All right. Yeah, and then on top of that, getting into the Thunderbreaker Discord and just asking like, yo, I suck at Lotus and Damien. What do I do? Or recording a run and just letting me know, and we can go through one as well. See if I have some tips for you. I've done a few hundred Lotuses and a few hundred Damiens at this point, so there might be a few things that you're not even aware are things that you could, that are like screwing you over, that I could point out to you and be like, don't do this, try to do this instead. And that could, you know, just like with the Chaos Populatus video, what I did, what a lot of people afterwards were like, oh shit, now I can actually kill the boss. Maybe there's a few of those things in a run that we can go over.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, so more more Scrapyard dailies and weeklies, and more Scrapyard and Dark World Tree weeklies, I guess. Keep up the Arcane Power dailies, and a little bit more dinero farming, and keep your eyes open for the second part of the summer event to see if there's a relay. That's going to be important. Oh yeah, and keep your eyes on the Sunny Sundays to see if there are going to be Star Force events and stuff. But I'll keep the event calendar updated, so you can always keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. Anything else that you were wondering about?
Is there a better metal that I can shoot for right now? Like, it just seems like I've been using that for so long.
The 7-day Monster Parker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that has 10% IED built into it. So if you just get the 1 day, then you get 10% IED on that 1 day that you have the medal for. And if you get that medal for every single day, then you'll get the combined medal that gives you 10% IED on every single day. So you'll lose out on a little bit of stat, but you get 10% IED, which obviously in the grand scheme of things gives you more damage output.
Gotcha. Cool.
Oh yeah, and don't forget Maple Tour, right? If you don't know what and where it is exactly, I have a video on it, but I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Yeah, cool. I think that answers my questions.
All right.
Thanks, Dawa.
Yep. You're welcome, and best of luck.